Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Sean Butler TV. It is Thursday. It is your weekend predictions on the Premier League, a massive Premier League fixture weekend. So much to talk about at the top end of the table, so much to talk about as ever at all ends of the league. It's massive. Manchester City go toe-to-toe with Liverpool. Depending on the outcome there, Arsenal, if they take on their team and they win, they could actually find themselves top of the table. The title race has never been closer. In the battle for fourth, Aston Villa take on Tottenham Hotspur. West Ham, with easy on paper fixtures, can they take over Manchester United? If Aston Villa somehow beat Tottenham, they're only going to be 5 points behind Tottenham. Is the top four, top five, top six race, is it going to extend into a top seven? It's all very interesting, guys. Before we get into my fixtures and my predictions, please do me a favor. Let me go this way. Smash the like button for me on the video. If you're new to these parts, then hit the subscribe as well on Sean Butler TV. Hit the notification bell, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts, let me know your predictions on your team, how you're going to do. Am I talking absolute nonsense on your team's output, the outcomes, the probability of you getting the points this weekend? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Let's start straight away with the early game on Saturday. It's Manchester United against Everton. A game that is usually going to be something that no one really cares about. And do we really care about it? Well, look, let me tell you this. For me, Manchester United are desperate for a victory. They are absolutely crying out for one. They got on the wrong end of a Manchester City defeat last weekend. Most people predicted that. I think that Manchester United, they started well. They had a game plan for the first sort of 45 minutes, and they went in at halftime, and everything was kind of rosy with their early goal. But then ultimately after that, they conceded. They then sat back. United fans weren't happy with doing that, with taking that stance to a Manchester derby. And in the end, it was all City for the taking. This time around, though, they're playing against an Everton side. Everton on the back of a 3-1 loss to West Ham, where we're going to talk about very soon. For me, this game has got potential to be an upset for United, but really Manchester United under Erik ten Hag, it's now or never, isn't it? It's now or never. If you drop points here, if Manchester United drop points at home to Everton, surely the top four race is over. Even if Tottenham lose against Villa, they have to win. They have to close the gap here. I think United are going to have enough, just enough, despite Everton needing the 3 points as well for their own battle at the bottom end of the table. I'm going to say 2-0 to Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts. We'll move on to the next one. Bournemouth versus Sheffield United. Look, there's only one winner here. Bournemouth are a really good team on the ascendancy this year. You've got to love what Iriola, I think his name's Irola, is doing. Dominic Solanke, they've got some really interesting players there. Solanke's just getting the job done at the top end of the pitch, which is super important. And ultimately, Sheffield United cannot score a goal at home. They can't score a goal away. It's a nightmare for them. They are dead set to go down. For me, easy peasy, 3 points to Bournemouth. Well done to them in advance. Congratulations to you, Bournemouth fans. A wonderful season. So much progress, so much promise. Just make sure you can keep hold of your players, your best players for the summer. And let's see if that owner, Mr. Foley, can inject a little bit more capital, can find some ways to loosen the purse strings and give you guys what you need. Try and keep hold of Dominic Solanke, although there's rumours that he might be off. We'll see. We'll find out. But for me, Bournemouth, Sheffield United is an easy peasy. Again, I'm going to go 2-0, maybe even 3-0 to Bournemouth. Don't bet on both teams scoring because I don't think Sheffield United have got it in their bag. Crystal Palace versus Luton. This is an interesting game. It's a bit of a dead rubber for Palace. They're in the mid-table section under new manager Oliver Glasner. They're starting to see a form, a fashion, a bit of style. Still early days for Oliver Glasner on the back of Crystal Palace's effort against Tottenham, where they lost 3-1 on the weekend. Tottenham huffed and puffed and struggled to blow the door down, but eventually got it done despite going 1-0 down to an Eberechi Eze. Absolute steamrolling free kick into the top bins. The Vicario, well, I think there's question marks over Vicario's formation in the box with the wall. But in any event, Eze put it in the top bins. And I think that this time round, Luton, despite being a very resilient team who never seem to lie down dying, they always seem to come back. I think this game's got goals in it. I'm going to say 2-2. I think Luton are going to get a point here, a much-needed point. They are scrapping and scraping for everything they can get, and they need every point because we don't yet know where the season will finish at the bottom end of the table with regards Everton and Forest and the points deductions that are likely to come in the next few days or next week. And then from there, are they then going to appeal? Of course they are. Will they get those points reductions or points deductions reduced? Time will tell. But for me, I'm going to say 2-2. It'll be an interesting game. One to watch actually on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. So if you've got a VPN and you know how to access it, maybe keep an eye on that game. I don't think it'll be a bad one. Wolves, Fulham up next. For me, this is about who turns up. Wolves against Fulham. Both teams on their day are capable. They have the propensity and the probability that they can find ways to unlock the door. They've both got dangerous players, but I think this particular game has also got the propensity and the probability of being a boring one. I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to say 1-1. I don't think it's one to remember. Depends how they turn up, depends what they want, but both teams aren't really fighting. They're both safe on the one end, and they're both not fighting for much on the other. But Wolves are one to watch next year. Also, Fulham, if they can add a little bit of sprinkle of stardust and maybe keep hold of Paulinho, you never know, guys. You never know. Are Fulham going to try and move into that second gear, that second tier of football? We'll see. For me, 1-1, not one to really kind of keep an eye on. Arsenal-Brentford at 5:30 game, guys. That's the next one. Massive for Arsenal, because if they win here and they win comfortably at home, and you would expect them to, then the pressure is all on the guys over at Anfield at 3:45 on Sunday. If Arsenal can win here, it's not a big if, but it's an if. Arsenal on the back of unbelievable form, unbelievable goal scoring rhetoric right now. They're banging in goals left, right, and center. You've got to be honest, even though I'm a Tottenham fan and I hate to say it, I absolutely hate to say it, you have to sit here and say, of the three teams in the title challenge, Arsenal are playing the best football. Arsenal are getting the most juice from the squeeze. Arsenal have the least amount of problems, the least amount of distractions they have to worry about. But Ivan Toney is always a thorn in every team's side. He is back. Brentford are missing out on a lot of other players. They don't have Wissa. They don't have Mbeumo. They still don't have Henry on the left-hand side. And without them, they feel a little bit imbalanced to me. They're still a very dangerous team. I think Tony's going to score. I think he's going to send a reminder to Arsenal as to why they should spend £80 million plus on him in the summer. But it's not going to be enough. For me, I'm going to say Arsenal 3, Brentford 1. Put your money on both teams to score if I were you. And not that I'm advocating gambling, but I think that both teams will score. I think you go more than 3 goals in that particular game. Then you move to Sunday, guys. And the big one on Sunday, or the big one before the big one, is at 1 o'clock. Aston Villa at Villa Park take on Tottenham Hotspur. This is the race for 4th. Aston Villa today, have just come back from Ajax, from Amsterdam. 0-0, I think that game finished. Apparently injuries maybe to Pau Torres. Another little kind of spanner in the works. Aston Villa at home, a phenomenal form. Phenomenal team at home. But recently, they're stuttering a little bit. They score a lot of goals, but they also concede. Something you could also say about Tottenham Hotspur. It doesn't really matter whether or not there's goals being scored by either team. You know they're both vulnerable at the back. Tottenham have got the propensity to lose and to leak goals. So have Aston Villa. This game has got goals written over it. Depends how Unai Emery sets up Aston Villa. Will it be a back 3? Will it be a back 4? How did Tottenham go? You know how they're going to play. Who are they going to pick? Time will tell. I'm going to go for Tottenham on this one. I am a Tottenham fan. Forgive me. I think there's goals, but I think Tottenham will win this one 3-2. And then Tottenham's 4th spot chase is on. We've still got the game in hand over them. We'll close the gap to 2 points. If that doesn't happen, though, if Aston Villa were to beat Tottenham, and let's skip past Brighton and Nottingham Forest for just a slight second. If West Ham were to beat Burnley, and that you've got to think that West Ham are going to beat Burnley, right? West Ham are a good team at home. They just come off the back of a victory against Everton. They've got some of their best players back. You know that Jared Bowen's going to be up for it. And Burnley away from home, most teams are going to look at Burnley at home and think there's 3 points there. West Ham can close the gap. West Ham can close the gap on Tottenham. They can close the gap on Manchester United, depending on what the outcome is there, even though I've already predicted that Manchester United will have just enough to get past a struggling yet resilient Everton. But West Ham can get themselves back into this conversation. They want to qualify for Europe next year, and they don't necessarily want to have to rely on their European exploits. Tonight they have played. I think they're playing right now as we speak, in fact. I think they are away at Freiburg. No, where are they? Where are they right now? They are They are in Freiburg. It's the Europa League round of 16, leg one. Freiburg 1-0 up at the time of recording, 82 minutes in. It's going to be interesting to see how tired they are, how fatigued they are from that Germany. It's something to Germany. But at the end of the day, Burnley should be fine for them. So I'm going to say West Ham 3, Burnley 1. Brighton versus Nottingham Forest, two teams that you just don't know which version. They're both very resilient on their day, both capable of scoring goals, both capable of conceding. Brighton are still battling in Europe. Nottingham Forest are trying to get as many points, clawing with their fingernails to get themselves into a relatively safe spot for the inevitable points deduction that's coming. I'm going to say this one, guys, goes Brighton's way, but I think Nuno Espirito Santo is going to get at least a goal. I'm going to say 2-1 to Brighton. And Brighton's season is kind of petering out anyway. They're safe, kind of much like Wolves and Fulham, safe, not really fighting for anything. Let's see, maybe their head is turned and they're fighting too much on the European front. But for me, a bit of a irrelevant fixture for Brighton at least. Nottingham Forest would love to get a point. I don't think they will. 2-1 to Brighton. And then, of course, guys, after that, we move to the big one, Liverpool versus Manchester City. For me, this is, for everybody, this is the game of the weekend. It's the game of the weekend, but Liverpool at home, formidable. Liverpool don't really lose at home, do they? They don't really give up too many points. Manchester City come to town, though, all bets are off against this version of Liverpool that are resilient, that try their best to hang on to games. They were very fortunate against Nottingham Forest last time out. They managed to squeaky bum time it all the way through to the 99th minute. Darwin Núñez is finding a way to demonstrate his value, but without the likes of Salah, without the likes of the other guys that are kind of create the creative spark in the midfield. I just don't know against Manchester City whether or not their home advantage is going to be quite enough. The crowd will be behind them, but I'm going to say on this one that Phil Foden, the man in form, the man bang in form, King Phil Foden, is going to get the job done for Manchester City. I'm going to say, and dare I say it, 2-1 to Manchester City. And the title race will be wide open because the guy that's currently top, Liverpool, are now going to find themselves behind Arsenal and behind Manchester City in the title race. But so much to play for. All of those teams, Liverpool City and Arsenal all have to play Tottenham. A lot of them have to play each other. There's so many more points to fight for. Nothing's done at the end of this weekend, but it's going to be a magnifier of value for Arsenal. And a real, in my opinion, a momentum shift for Manchester City, who haven't really been brilliant recently. They weren't great against Manchester United. They found a way to get it done against the team that was sitting back. Liverpool are not going to sit back. Or are they? Are they? The tactics, we'll have to find out. You have to lean into Liverpool fans to figure out how they're going to play. And then on Monday, you've got Chelsea versus Newcastle. Two teams, once again, it's a brilliant game on paper. These two teams are usually a brilliant match against each other. Again, Chelsea, though, 11th in the table. I don't want to dwell on it. It's kind of a dead rubber for them. And for Newcastle United, who sit in 8th, 40 points, 10 points behind Tottenham, 4 points behind Manchester United. If they have any hopes of getting themselves into the Europa League for next season, then they're going to have to find a way to kind of rally some form, rally out of their kind of stop and start fixture and stop and start results season. It's not been fantastic for them, has it? Let's be honest. But they have had to manage and make do with an incredible injury list. But so have a lot of teams. But for me, guys, I'm going to say this particular game, Chelsea versus Newcastle, is going to go Chelsea's way. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1 to Chelsea. And Chelsea will finally get themselves back into the top half of the table. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Have I said anything that's outrageously wrong? Let me know. Like, subscribe, and comment. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, come on, I shouldn't say come on, you Spurs. And as always, bye-bye.